welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Got a pretty good show here today. Part 2 of our discussion with former NFL scout Daniel Kelly on his top 32 evaluations in the upcoming NFL draft. But before we get to that, you know what we got to do. Make sure you go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell. And if you enjoy the content, please give us that 5-star review. Also, if you want the audio-only version of the podcast, please go ahead, open up your audio podcast platform, do a quick search, The Format Podcast. We should come up. All right. Make sure you leave us a comment on your audio podcast platform or here on YouTube. Helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And let's get back to it. Part 2 with Daniel Kelly. So here we are at number 11, Josh Downs, wide receiver, North Carolina.
An exciting guy. This guy's going to wreck NFL secondaries. This guy is like the Garrett Wilson of this draft.
Okay.
He's got a fast release. He's not getting love and respect he deserves at all. Above average speed, a very polished, accomplished route runner. This is what he shows on game film. A sure-handed, dynamic receiver. My NFL scouting mentor taught me years ago. Hey, stick with the dynamic ones. Josh Downs has dynamic rim spray painted all over his game film. He's very crisp, athletic at the break points, at the top of the routes. He can, it just changed direction.
Right.
Kind of Chris Berman like sound effects for us.
Yeah.
Short area bursts, which is beautiful, coming in and out of routes. Slippery after the catch. Not the easiest guy to bring down after he makes the catch and gets going on his way. Not afraid to mix it up. This guy's got some Gary Clark in him, and my favorite receiver of all time from Washington. He loves to kind of mix it up. He's not afraid. He's not afraid of any of these aggressive corners that like to talk. Devin Witherspoon or one of these type of guys that likes to get everybody's face. There'll be no back down this guy at all. Just a tough physical attitude, not afraid to go across the middle at all. No back down as a run blocker whatsoever as well. He is an ideal number 2 for a team that has that number 1 receiver, that dominant alpha receiver. This guy would be incredible as a number 2 receiver. He is going to absolutely, I don't know how corners are going to keep up with him in the NFL.
Enough said. All right. Okay, number 12, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, edge, Kansas State.
Absolutely. This is another guy that's not getting the love that he deserves. Mm-hmm. This is a modern day Justin Tuck. This is a guy absolutely. This is a guy that's a polished edge rusher, long arms, uses his hands well, has good bend, short area burst, which is a prerequisite in order, to be an elite pass rusher in the league. A hardcore effort. This is a guy that has a lot of want. This is a guy that has a full arsenal, full toolbox of pass rush moves. He just keeps coming and he keeps testing tackles the way the greats do. Extreme aggression level. Extreme, a lot of toughness and a lot of physicality, which I love. He's disruptive. That's the name of the game in today's pass-happy NFL. He's somebody that against a run, he shows he can shed and wrap and chase it down. Sometimes the biggest knock I had on him that he showed on game film is he can get overpowered by larger offensive linemen.
Okay,
but but you're not bringing this guy in to play the run. You're bringing him in, as a pass rusher, somebody can disrupt the pocket. Listen, if he was at say Alabama instead of Kansas State,
exactly,
this guy would be a top 5. They'd be talking about him in the top 5 of the draft because he just brings it. I mean, you want somebody that basically you can just basically press start at the beginning of the game, and it's just going to be the same guy the whole time that you can depend and count on, and a guy who wants to win football games. This guy is your guy.
Yeah, I was going to say to that point that you just mentioned Alabama. I think a big part of maybe him not getting the love that you feel he should get is the last time we saw him, his team was getting demolished by the Tide. So recency bias, I think, may legitimately play a role. And especially, you've got that mentality, of course. The SEC is the closest thing to the NFL, and Alabama is almost like an NFL team in college in terms of the type of athletes that they put on the field representing what he may more often be lining up against on the next level. So, I get it. Number 13, Tuli Tuipulotu, edge, USC.
Love Tully. Love him a lot. He's a guy that not getting the love that he should get either, flying under the radar. I mean, when's the last time we didn't hear somebody, the mainstream narrative talking about a guy that led the nation in sacks, 13 and a half sacks, and an accomplished, opportunistic defender with long arms, quickness and range, smells weakness from a mile away on an offense, knows how to exploit it, knows how to get in. Fast first step, let's paint a picture with words, uses his hands well to get into blockers and create that separation so he can make his move. Authoritative bull rush, a lot of power, brute power, upper body, full toolbox of pass rush moves, can get under. The thing I love on the edge when he's coming around the edges, he has that it's like that stealth pass rush thing where he can get up underneath an offensive tackles, underneath their pad level and just bring it around the corner. And that's what he does. He has the speed to win the edge. He makes quick pocket adjustments, which is critically important when the quarterback slides. We have these Bryce Youngs and, Lamar Jacksons and Justin Fields that are extremely slippery in the pocket, moving all around. I'm trying my best to reenact it. Right. But Tully can adjust quickly. That's critically important. You don't want stiff pass rushers or rigid pass rushers like Will Anderson Jr. in Alabama. They can't change direction to save his life. You got somebody with a short area burst in Tully. He delivers crushing blows. It's like watching a can of Pepsi, it's empty, getting run over by a truck. He delivers that type of crushing blow to quarterbacks. Questionable in terms of the run stopping, questionable run defender in terms of instincts are concerned. But that's, again, not why you're bringing Tully in. He's flat out unblockable at times. This guy is going to make a lot of noise in the National Football League, and quarterbacks better, maybe up the insurance policy a little bit.
All right. Number 14, Lucas Van Ness, edge, Iowa. And obviously he was one of the few bright spots for the Hawkeyes last year. And I will say he's got to be special, just based on the fact that, number one, you've got him this high, and number two, that defense was all Iowa really had to carry their to hang their hat on last season. And so for him to be able to still produce on that level, knowing week in and week out the offense was not going to get it done, that lets you know what type of player he is. So give us, obviously this is not my eval, this is your eval. Give us some of the technicalities on why this guy's legit.
Ryan Kerrigan 2.0. That's what I see when I see him.
Great analysis.
Thank you. Standing up off the edge. A little tough for evaluation because 2 years ago he was subbed in here and there. They played him a lot of tackle, which got kind of confusing. So you have to really kind of dig through film, which you can see on FirstRoundMock.com when you watch the games and click on the links. It's only subs in here and there 2 years ago, but this last year he started coming in the game more and more. Listen, Lucas Van Ness has one thing on his mind and one thing only, and that's leveling your quarterback. I mean, that's his mentality when he comes in there. A muscular, lean frame, always around the ball, feisty, one of my grandma's favorite words. Right. Versatile, a guy that can put his hand down in the dirt, or he can stand up coming off either side of the edge and flip-flop back and forth like they like to do these days. Excellent hand usage at the point of attack. He has an explosive momentum at the point of attack when he's going into blockers. He battles. He looks for a way in. He looks for the slightest crease in the way to get into the pocket. He also has average adjustments, which is why he's at in the middle of that tier like that. Average adjustments in the pocket, fights in the run game, but due to his limited playing strength, that's the biggest knock I have on him. That's not weight room strength, but playing strength that he shows on game film. When he's locked up against the big boys in the sandbox, he gets moved out too easily. But this is a guy that moves the meter. This guy is a big plus when it comes to being a pass rusher. This would be an excellent pick by the Green Green Bay Packers, to bring in and put it on that edge. Preston Smith is getting up there in years and stuff, kind of bring him along, and he can kind of keep him in the Midwest where he wants to be, probably close to family now.
Right.
This guy is going to be a pocket wrecker. If a team that drafts him has the right vision for him and can stand him up off the edge like a Ryan Kerrigan did, then we're going to be hearing a lot of Lucas Van Ness in the National Football League.
All right. Number 15, Tyree Wilson, edge, Texas Tech.
Yeah, Tyree Wilson, he's Myles Garrett without the bend and without the pass rush moves.
So just more in terms of the athleticism, the overall burst.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this guy is like we've seen on like police shows and police movies and that, where they come and they have that large battering ram, they knock the door down with it.
Yeah.
That's Tyree Wilson. He's just a real brute, a guy that has, long arms, that brute strength, above average playing speed, sporadic effort, which is why he comes at number 15. But he can blow up the gaps. He can put an offensive lineman on skates, like we like to say in scouting, where you just drive the guy right back into the quarterback's face. Good close. Once he has the target locked in, he needs to have a straight line close. But once he has it locked in, he's definitely can make his move. He got hung out to dry too often, like closing a clothesline, which is why he's not top 10. And he's inconsistent against a run. But he's another guy that when he gets his hands on a runner, he makes absolutely crushing, devastating, wrapping tacklers. This guy definitely moves the meter, and there's a lot of upside with him. Not as much as a lot of people are saying in the mainstream narrative, because again, he doesn't have the bend and he doesn't have the pass rush moves you look for in the top 10.
Got you. Number 16, Christian Gonzalez, cornerback, Oregon.
Cleanest game film of any first rounder I've watched this year. I mean, this is a modern day Sean Springs, if we recall, remember him? Yeah, for sure. Not one of the guys, and why he's at 16, where a lot of people have him top 10. He's just not exciting enough. I couldn't get into the game film in terms of excitement, but he's extremely technically sound. This is a very smart football player who knows how to work receivers without drawing flags. He's got long arms, a high level athletic ability. He has that coveted short area burst. He's showing that in game film. Knows how to put himself in excellent position. Smooth, can stay in phase effortlessly with receivers. Great anticipation. He keeps an eye kind of on the quarterback. He can kind of feel where the receiver's at the same time. He excels in press man, off man, zone coverage. Good feel for the flow of the game, and strong want. As I read off all those things and remember those things, I'm trying to ask myself, why again do I not have this guy in the top 10?
Right.
But again, it's just not the excitement. He wasn't enough of a playmaker for my taste. Just the same way I used to feel when I watched Sean Springs play. But listen, this is a guy that you can bring in as your number one corner for an NFL team. He gives a defense a huge jump in today's pass-happy NFL, and a guy that you can just plug in a corner and throw away the key for the next 10 years.
All right. Number 17, my favorite player in your first 32, Michael Mayer, tight end, Notre Dame.
Why is he your favorite?
I'm a big Notre Dame guy. I've watched every single game that he's played. I've seen him play live. And in all seriousness, though, what impresses me about him is Notre Dame's offense last season was lukewarm, to say the least. And everyone knew that he was the primary weapon in the passing game, and yet he still managed to make contested catches. He scored touchdowns. He's a ferocious blocker. He has, other than less than elite measurables, unfortunately, we saw him run slowly at the combine. He's not a leaper, but if you turn on the game film, and I'm sure you'll get into this, you can see what type of impact player he's capable of being. So that's my evaluation. But again, being a big Notre Dame fan, I'm sure there's some bias there. So you tell us what you see on Michael Mayer.
That's a great evaluation, Bruce. That's pretty much the way I see him as well. And this is why we have to be, take the measurables and the off-season workouts and the measurables and all this stuff and take them with a grain of salt. Because I think more mistakes are made in the NFL in terms of evaluating during the off-season than any other time. Game film trumps everything. This is what Scott Pioli taught me at the Jets. Is there's a big difference between playing speed and track speed. There's a big difference between weight room strength and playing strength. In other words, do these type of things, do they translate to game film? And when you turn on the game film of Michael Mayer, he is the next great tight end in the National Football League. I'm with you 1,000%, Bruce, on this one. This guy is a mismatch nightmare. I mean, when you talk about tight ends, right, in the NFL, you talk about putting them up against less agile. And linebackers and safeties are notoriously stiff athletes in the NFL. They have a hard time, a lot of them, changing direction. Not the elite ones, but the rest of the guys can have a little trouble changing direction. We've seen it in college. We see it in the NFL all the time. This guy, because of that, is a mismatch nightmare. And that's the terminology you want to hear, if you're an offensive coordinator in the NFL, is you want to find guys you can bring in that can create tremendous mismatches. The way we watch Rob Gronkowski in New England, the way we've seen Travis Kelce in Kansas City, the different type of tight ends we've seen in this league have tremendous success is their mismatched nightmares. That's what Michael Mayer is. So I would throw the measurables, the offseason stuff. I would crumple up in a piece of paper, make a 3-point shot with it, because when you turn on the game film, he's athletic, right? He's a complete tight end, like you talked about, Bruce, meaning he's a good receiver and a good blocker is what I mean by complete tight end. He can line up in tight, or you can shift him out and line him up out wide. He's an excellent short-range safety valve, and one of the things I loved about Mayer the most, and a lot of guys don't do in the NFL, is he has the knowledge and knows how to work back to his quarterback when he's in trouble. He looks, he pays attention. When the quarterback's under pressure, I'm sure you saw it, he works back to the quarterback. Hey, here I am, throw it. I can help you. I love that about Mayer. He runs routes like a seasoned NFL All-Pro. This guy. I mean, the route running is beautiful to watch. It's just fun. It's enjoyable to watch on game film. Uses a big 6'4", 265-pound frame exceptionally well to box defenders out at the catch point. He can put on moves. He's got the ability to put on that quick move. When, again, a lot of linebackers and safeties can't match it. Creates a separation, creates a throwing window. He can put on moves, or he can just out physical guys, which I'm sure you saw too at the catch point, at the break point. He'll just get out of here. He'll just get rid of them. So he can win either way at the intermediate route level. This guy is dominant, creating and establishing route leverage. And the combination between his athleticism, his knowledge of how to run routes, his skill level running routes, and that big frame and that tenacious kind of that aggressive defensive mentality he has, he's excellent at creating, establishing route leverage. Good concentration and heavy traffic. Another thing I love about him, he doesn't care if 2-3 defenders. Right? No. People are amazed because I've talked to other evaluators and they're like, how does he keep getting open when everybody knows people are going to throw the ball at him?
That right there is the key, and I think that's what makes him have the ability to possibly be a difference maker. It was that everyone knew that is where Notre Dame wanted the ball to go in the passing offense all season long, with a dearth of weapons on the outside, and he still made play after play. Yep.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, too, is to our listeners, is that he showed a better catch radius. A big knock I had on my 2021 game film was his catch radius wasn't quite what it needed to be. 2022 looked better to me. So I think there was improvement in terms of flexibility, in terms of catch radius as well in the last offseason. And the thing, too, I love about him, I think that a lot of people are not looking at, is I love how he clears out areas for other receivers. He's very skilled at carrying one or two defenders. Like he'll go up the middle and he'll go back outside, and all of a sudden you see a receiver cross over the middle that he basically carries the coverages in a different direction because he draws so much attention. He's very skilled at that. He's a leverage positional blocker, a little bit inconsistent inconsistent sustain. A lot of times he was able to sustain just to the point the run, ended. I would like to see a little bit better sustain from him, but he definitely gets after as a run blocker. I can't knock him on that. Overall, a difference maker. Michael Mayer is going to be fun to watch at the next level, and he's going to be a definite. He's a guy that's going to move the meter for an NFL team.
And next up, another high-level tight end, number 18, Luke Musgrave, tight end, Oregon State.
Yeah, this is a guy that's another tough eval because he missed a lot of time this last season. And normally, I would have not had a player like this high because you need to mitigate that risk of, coming off injury. But he did show in the offseason stuff that he's made a full recovery. And so that's why I have him at number 18 on my first round mock, value board. He's a guy that's a long, athletic frame, good speed, quickly can change direction. He's a special route runner, one of the best route running tight ends I've seen in 40 years. He's a guy that can quickly change direction. He's a fluid runner. He can create separation. He runs something I've never seen. I don't know about you, Bruce, but in the 40 years I've been watching the game, is he runs this kind of unique 3-point route, like a constellation, like stars in the sky. He'll go up, and then he'll come over to what would be a catch point for a lot of receivers, and then he'll make another move. And so basically, these less agile, these stiffer linebackers and safeties, they got to make not one, but two adjustments at the break point, which isn't even fair. Right. And so I'm not sure if that was just an Oregon State thing or something that an NFL offensive coordinator will pick up and start running more of in the NFL and make a more creative route tree. But I don't think there's many people in the NFL that can keep up with that as far as linebackers and safeties. There sure wasn't in college, which is what makes him so special. He's a guy that can find the soft spots. He can sniff and smell soft spots and coverages. He knows how to work defenders, a lot of times who are smaller than him. He's got confident hands. He's a try-hard blocker. I won't say he's a great blocker, and I won't say he's bad. He's a try-hard blocker. But Luke Musgrave is going to be a special difference maker in the National Football League.
All right. Number 19, Darnell Wright, right tackle, Tennessee.
Hey, I tell you what, there's a lot right about him.
Absolutely.
This is a guy to me that has tenure, all-pro, written all over, spray painted all over his game film. Another guy that's a man amongst boys, absolutely handled Will Anderson Jr. in the Alabama game. A couple years ago when Rashawn Slater made all that money, made all those headlines when he handled Chase Young in that matchup, a similar matchup this last year with Darnell Wright, Will Anderson Jr. It's on firstroundmock.com. You can go check out the film. Handled him, a thick and heavy frame. But again, this is where it kind of gets weird and kind of gets unique and interesting and intriguing because he has that thick and that heavy frame, right? But the thing about him is he's got this athleticism to him that's uncommon. He's got these long arms. He excels in pass and run blocking. He's a graceful, nimble. I mean, how many times do you hear that about a big, thick guy, right? No, you don't. No, it's always just like that's where it ends. The story ends. Not with Wright. He's graceful and nimble, moving around. He slides out and maintains a nice wide base. Violent punch. I mean, he comes into that. I mean, just a violent punch, violent hands. Stays in control, can handle finesse blockers. What I mean by that is a speed guy, the guys that cute fancy moves. He can handle that. He's got an ironclad anchor. He's got one of those anchors like a big boat where you can just throw it overboard. You can hang out for a few hours. What I mean by that, you cannot bull rush Darnell Wright. I don't care who it is in the NFL. Nobody's putting this guy on skates. The game's best won't be able to move him back. He can hunker down. He's got the equally distributed power and that weight. He can just sink his weight down in his hips and his lower body, and he's not going to move. You have a better chance of moving your refrigerator around in your kitchen than you do moving Darnell Wright back into the quarterback. You'll never see him give a dribble back like that. Aggressive positional run blocker, inconsistent sustain. I would like to see a little bit better sustain of run blockings from him, but he can get downfield. It's hit and miss because, when he's in space, when he's pulling out in space and that, but when he hits somebody, it's devastating. This is a guy that the New York Jets should be all over Darnell Wright, figuring out some way. They don't need to be looking at Aaron Rodgers. They need to be figuring out how to build an offensive line with the Jets. And Darnell Wright's a guy you can bring in at right tackle. You can plug him in and throw away the key for the next 10 years.